Very good. What's happening?
So, Kelly from Australia had talked about it when she was talking of her experience, and then yesterday as well. Just and the way it gets expressed, or the way I receive it, is, all that is here is there's just this happening, just this happening.
Yeah.
To no one. There's no one who's subject, or it's not happening to someone and no one is seeing it. So this is the part I'm not following, that there's all this is just happening. It's not happening to someone. So, when we use the word this in usual language, it's a pronoun. It refers to something that's being objectified. So when you're saying, all that is here, it's all this, this is just happening, it's happening to no one, there's no me, all of that is being seen. So all of that is a kind of a this that's being seen, not by someone, but it's being, like, a given object can't reveal itself. There has to be an awareful presence, someone to, not necessarily someone, but it has to be quite awareness or consciousness to register, to illumine that object. So the same with all this and no one. There must be a consciousness there that can see it's all this just bubbling up, happening to no one. So that the fullness of the expression and the absence of a separate person who would limit the whole thing, it's all being seen. So for me, or as it comes up, that type of expression, it's, this is all just happening. It seems to be leaving out the consciousness that is, in which all that is being seen. The seeingness seems to be left out in a way.
Why? That's an assumption.
Well, just if it sounds like it's being objectified.
And it's not.
Yeah, well, so that's where I'm not getting it.
Sure. So it's just this implies everything and nothing. It includes the direct experiencing. It includes consciousness, awareness. It includes everything. Yeah, but there's no division in anything. There's no one having the experience, and there's no thing over there, or it's not objectified. Now, you're quite right. Again, I love it. You're quite right in examining just this. What does just this mean? You're quite right in examining it. Yeah. Even to say, just this isn't it. Language.
Sorry, the camera's not quite right. Sorry.
Thank you. I forgot. How's that?
Yeah.
Sorry. For Satsangs, I've got to have it in the center of the screen, and for one-on-ones, I've got to have it over to the left, and I forget to move it. You're quite right, Mark. Language can't go there. It can't, yeah. But language by its very nature is dualistic. So it's going to seem like when we say just this, you're quite right. It sounds like it's an objective experience. Yeah, that there's someone experiencing that. But it's all inclusive. What's a better way of putting it? We could say, is. I don't know. I'm not sure how many people would get that. Is.
Yeah.
And everything is just happening, including the consciousness, the awareness, the beingness, the direct experience. Everything is just on. And it doesn't need a seeming personalized person for that to just be. So when we say just this, yeah, it's all inclusive. All inclusive. It doesn't mean just the world, yeah, and the awareness of. It includes awareness as well. The whole. But you're very astute to point that out, because you're right. You're right. Now, can you let go of that?
Yeah. Yes.
Understanding that
Yeah.
no matter what we say about this, it's going to sound dualistic. Why? Language. Okay. Like, probably the most accurate way of saying just this would be, you ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone who was awake would totally understand that. Totally understand. So language is going to be used until there's just I think it's awesome you questioned that. Just this. Hold on. That seems, you're right. You're right. Dead right. Okay, good. Now that you're dead right, yeah, and I've explained the position in relation to language and duality and so on, yeah, okay, right. Good. So you're right with that. Now, leave that. Now what? Now what? Now what?
Yeah.
If I use language again, yeah, you cannot deny just this.
Just this.
Can't deny it. You know, those two words, just this, are still pointers, aren't they? That sounds dualistic. Just this. Now that you understand that it's language and it's just a pointer, yeah, now let that go. Let it go. Now what? Now what? Just this. The fact that You are conscious. Just is. No cause. See, where we're trying to get you, yeah, is the full understanding of no cause. Just is. Why? Because. Full stop. See, mind's constantly looking for a cause. But that's its nature. It works dualistically. It thinks everything has a cause. Cause and effect is a product of mind. What does mind do with a statement like this? Yeah. The absolute has no beginning and no end. No start. Infinite. Always is, was. No beginning. No end. Now, if there's no beginning, try and look for a cause. If it has no beginning, it has no cause. Either the absolute's infinite or not. Now, if it's not, if it had a start, if it had a beginning, what would be the cause? Logically, we'd have to say, if it had a beginning, there must have been a cause for that beginning. And then we get into infinite regression. What created God? God created God. Well, what created that God? Well, God created that God. Well, what created that God? Well, God created that God. Infinite regression. Now, you need to see the flaw in that. If that's what was happening, if that's all that was ever happening, God creating a God creating a God creating a God creating a God creating, and that's all that was ever happening, God creating, God creating, God, this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't happen. Because first we've got to establish a God before this could happen. You with me?
I kind of lost it there.
Okay, so do you understand infinite regression?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so how do I put that? Let's say I go to a library, yeah, and I'm in a queue to borrow a book. Yeah? But there's an infinite number of people in front of me in the queue. Yeah. Would I ever be able to borrow a book?
No.
Which means creation would never happen.
Yeah, no, I'm still not quite getting that part as why creation
Okay.
would never.
Let's. What I'm doing is I'm trying to put up the argument for God had a beginning.
Yeah.
Or the absolute had a beginning. So we can see the falseness in that. Now, if the absolute, let's leave out the word God, but it doesn't matter. It's semantics, right? But
yeah.
If the absolute had a beginning, yeah, then what was the cause of that beginning? And the only logical thing you could say would be, well, another God. Yeah. Okay. Now, that being the case, if we go down that route of infinite regression, yeah, God created God. Who created that God? another God created that God, and another God. So there would just be a constant, infinite regression of just God being created. But that's all. Nothing else could ever happen. Zero could ever happen, because all that would be happening is God creating a God, creating a God, creating a God, creating. There'd be no time left there for God to then create something else other than itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting that?
Yes.
Good. So it doesn't work. For the absolute to have a beginning is what's referred to as infinite regression, which means that nothing else would ever happen, because all that would ever be happening is God creating a God, creating a God, creating a God, creating a God. Yeah? Infinitely. Nothing else could ever happen.
Yeah, I don't follow, one God could create another God, but then why couldn't that God then create?
I'll tell you why.
World?
Because the first God that gets created
Yeah.
is dependent on the God prior to it creating it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the God that created it is dependent on the God prior to that creating it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you took
Yes.
any one of those pieces out of that chain, out of that link, yeah, the first God disappears, gone. Yeah. So it's just in a constant state. It would be only in a constant state of creating itself. Now, this is outside of time. It's not like, the first God gets created and then, a million years later that there's other gods still creating other gods and other gods and other gods and other gods and other gods. Therefore, the first God that gets created can then go off and do its thing as such. They're all linked because they're all causal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't create one God, yeah, and then the one that created that God is then dependent on another God to create it, so as that it could create the first God. It would be in a constant state of just creating a God. Can you see that? Constantly. Because they're all linked. You can't have, let's create the first God. All right, first God's created. Yeah. What created that? Oh, the second God. Okay. All right. Now, the first God can go off and create and do whatever it likes. It can't do that because the second God is still dependent on the third God creating it before that could even happen. And it's an infinite regression, Mark. Got to see that. Really, really important to see. You might need to intuit it. You can't. See, the first God is dependent on the
preceding God.
The trillionth God. It's dependent on it. Do you understand? If now this is all on the assumption that there's a cause. So if we go down that route, that there's a cause, the first God is dependent on the next God, which is dependent on the next God, which is dependent on the next God, which is dependent on the trillionth God. That trillionth God wasn't there, that first one wouldn't be there. So it's always and only, it would always and only be in a state of just creating God, 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 and nothing else would ever happen. Now, if God has no cause, just is, everything's just happening. Mind only wants to know why. Of course it would. It's dualistic. See, if there's no cause, Mark, if there's no cause, it's just this. Everything just is. No cause. Now, if there's no cause, this might be a little, but anyway, if there's no cause, how can there be an effect? The effect and the cause are imagined. Even the seeming me that believes it's suffering, none of it's true. None of it's true. There is no me. There is no suffering. That would only be based on a belief that there's a cause and an effect. And the cause and the effect only arises in mind as a concept. Everything must have a cause. Everything must have a beginning. Really? Why? And then when you analyze it, let's analyze, okay, God has a beginning. Well, who created that God? If it has a beginning, it's going to be created by something. You can't, nothing can't create something, because it's the nothing is the absence of everything. Everything. So there's no such thing actually as nothing. It's a concept. Oh yeah, but maybe one day, physicists will discover a nothing. How can you discover a nothing? It's a nothing. It's a concept. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing is the absence of everything. Energy, space, time, the absence of everything. Now, how do you get something from that? So logically, it implies that there's never been nothing. It's just always infinitely is. No beginning, no cause, no end, just is. Yeah. Now, if you can apply that to what's going on right here, right now, what's the cause? Or is everything just happening? You grasping this? Yeah.
Yeah, everything just happening, but
Was there a but there?
without a cause. Yeah, I hesitated to say everything is happening without a cause. It's
right. Okay, so let's have a look at that. I mean, I just tried to take you down.
yeah. I mean, that infinite regression of God, then God would be an effect. You would never find a final cause, a beginning cause. It would be.
You'd never find an effect, because it would just be cause, 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 cause. There'd be never an effect.
Yeah.
And it would be an infinite regression. There'd be no time for anything else to happen.
Yeah. Or each God would be an effect of the preceding God.
ad infinitum.
Yeah.
So nothing would actually ever happen, because it would be in a constant state of cause only, no effect, no result. No result. Because the first God that gets created is dependent on the trillionth God ago.
Yeah.
It's creating all the other trillion gods between this supposed first one. So this one, the one that got created, yeah, can never do anything. Zero. It can't do anything because it's linked to the trillionth one that's still creating and creating and creating and creating and creating. Nothing else would ever happen. Do you grasp that?
Yes, yes.
Good. Now, something's happening. So it can't be that the absolute had a beginning and a cause. It logically does not work. Doesn't work. If you really look at it, just look at it logically, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't work. Therefore, the absolute has no cause, no beginning, no end. And it would only be mind that would do a brain fart over that statement. You mean no cause? What do you mean no beginning? You go, okay. So if something has a beginning, what was the cause of that? There you go, infinite regression again. Yeah. Mind is always seeking a cause and a reason or a why. Always. That's its nature to do that. So it's limited. It's limited, Mark. Yeah. It can take you so far in regards to logic. Yeah. And then this last little bit of logic that it needs to use, mind, yeah, is infinite regression. Well, that doesn't work. Logically, that doesn't work. So something having a cause actually doesn't work. Doesn't work. Yet, so all of this just is just happening, no cause. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Which also means there's no me causing anything, because there's no cause, Mark. There is no cause. There is no doer. There is no person. There is no absolute planning to do stuff. It's just happening. When that dawns, man. Oh. What's the cause of space? Physicists are all tied up with things in space. Even the speed of light. Nothing can exceed the speed of light. Really? Nothing? What about space? that light's traveling in. It's got to be faster than light. Otherwise, light would be able to outrun space. And then beware, where would light be if it outran space? What's the cause of space? The hell's the cause of that? Just is. Oh, you're the Big Bang. Really? Just haven't got a clue. They're now questioning the Big Bang. Did that even happen? Is that a thing? And multi-universes, and they're starting to go down that route, and no one knows. No one actually knows. Even if there was, let's say, for argument's sake, the Big Bang was real. Yeah? What came out of the Big Bang was time and space and objects and things. And yeah, what created that? Or that just come from nothing? The absence of everything. The absence of everything produced a universe. And logically, that's... So even if, let's say that model was true, the Big Bang model, let's say that was true, yeah? There's something prior to that. What created the Big Bang? And they're all just models, Mark. No one actually really knows. No one, they still don't know for sure. They don't. Still don't know. Even the Big Bang hypothesis, yeah, you would assume, like, let's reverse it. So instead of expansion, yeah, let's reverse it. It's all coming back now. The whole universe is just coming back in on itself. Yeah. That logic, you'd presume there was a center, correct? Physicists are saying, no, there's no center. Even if they could pull it all back, yeah, they can't find a center. A place where the Big Bang originated. Why not? Except that it's expanding out, and it seemed to have, a central point of coming into being. Why can't that location be found? Why not? Or why not, even 100,000 years after the Big Bang? Why can't that particular location be found? Or 5 seconds after the Big Bang? Why can't that location be found if everything's expanding out? You know what they say? Every point is the location. So that implies, Mark, you are the location. You. And I, the location. The moon is the location. That's where the Big Bang originated from. The sun Alpha Centauri, 4 light years away. Everywhere is the location. Now, try and fit that in with the universe had a beginning and it's expanding out. It falls down everywhere, Mark. It falls down everywhere. Yeah. And it's all based on a belief that everything has to have a cause. Why? Why? Why does everything have to have a cause? Why? Yeah. If there's no beginning and no end, what does that do with time? Can time even work in that model? No beginning, no end. Can time work in that model? Logically, like, the closest we could say would be time is infinite. Watch the mind try and grapple with that. And time is infinite. So then we bring all of this back to the immediacy of now. The absolute immediacy of now, Mark. The immediacy of now is just happening. Now, know that. Know that. How do you know that? From the direct experiencing of now. And if it's always now, how are you going to find a cause? How is it possible to find a cause if you're always dealing with now? There's always and only just now. Any cause is going to be a concept, is it not? Is it not? Now, ask yourself, Mark, what's the cause of just now, just this? Now, what's the cause?
No cause.
Mind just kind of goes, no cause. Now, if there's no cause, there can't be an effect. Effect, cause and effect are imagined by mind. Why? Because mind works dualistically. Of course, mind is going to create a cause and effect, or a start and a finish. Dual. Outside of mind, in the immediacy of just now, Now what's happening? Just this.
Yeah. There does seem to be, though, such a thing as, let's call it the transactional world. So where the currency is causes and effects, like the cause of speaking is having a voice box and air
Okay.
flowing across the vocal cords.
All right. So stop right there. Yeah. The cause of speaking is the voice box.
The physical cause, yeah, at that level.
Good, good. What's the cause of the voice box? Here we go into regression.
Yeah, that would go into infinite regression, yes. Yes.
So can we say that the voice box is the cause of speech? What's the primary cause?
Well, there's so many multiple factors, yeah. Multiple factors.
Good. So is it logical to say that the voice box is responsible for speech? What's responsible for the voice box?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, yeah, multiple causes, multiple factors having to fall into place, you know.
So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's a belief. But it just needs to be looked at. I hand over money. I get a product. Cause and effect. Yeah. So what's the cause of the money? What's the cause of the product? What's the cause of the hand handing over the money? What's the cause of the hand taking the money? Assuming we're not using cards, right? Where are you going to go, Mark? Again, that's infinite regression, which is only what the mind would be able to work or run with. It can't understand no cause. Yet we can look at it logically. If we're talking about a cause, we'd have to be talking about the primary cause. And then everything else would be an effect of that primary cause. True?
Yeah.
Good. What's the primary cause?
Yeah. There's no cause.
And that's the truth. Mark, that's the truth. We're kind of using logic here to analyze the belief of cause and effect. Mine is so limited. But yeah, the cause of speech is the voice box. Really? That's it? Like, that's it? And clearly, when you look at it, it's not that. You could say the cause of speech was air.
Yeah.
Without air, there'd be no speech.
In space.
Sound, there'd be no sound without air. There'd be no sound. Now, what's the cause? You know, if the heart wasn't beating, there'd be no speech. You know, to say that the voice box is the cause of speech, you might as well say the heart is the cause of speech. Because without that, there'd be no speech. See how limited and finite thinking can be, Mark? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It tries to put things in boxes, conceptual little boxes. And then by doing that, it creates a seeming world. Oh, I hope you can see this. You might need to ponder this.
Yes.
Okay? You really might need to ponder this. Like really, really, like go there, Mark. Challenge the shit out of it. Seriously. Seriously. Yeah. Cause. Jesus Christ. With everything that's going on right here, right now, boom, we think we're going to find a cause to everything. Really? Talk about go down the rabbit hole. What's the cause? What's the cause of speech coming out? What do we call it? The voice box. Voice box, right? Yeah. What's the cause of speech? The voice box. Okay. What about blood? Would there be a voice box if blood wasn't there? Good. Okay, good. Yeah. So what's the cause of blood? Would there be a voice box without air? No. So what's the cause of air? Mark, we could go off in a myriad of different directions. Yeah? Trying to find a cause. But what's the cause to that cause, 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 to that? In an infinite number of different directions you could go to that cause, to that cause, to that. Rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is science,
Yeah.
What it's entirely like that. One thing leads to another endlessly.
Yeah.
Becomes more and more myopic, actually.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There's not a cause. Not a cause. Just is. Oh, that's hard for the mind to hear, Mark. I know. It's really hard for the mind to hear that. Just is. Now come back to your own direct experience, right here, right now, in the immediacy of now. Tell me everything just isn't. It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The direct experience, not the mind experience, not the mind trying to know and work it out. Okay, we use the mind. Yeah. We've even been using intellect and logic the last 15 minutes talking about seeming cause and effect. And even with mind and straight logic, you can wipe out this whole notion of cause and effect. You can. Yeah. Now what? Now what do we do? Yeah. See, if the fallacy of that system or that belief system is absolutely, absolutely, truly seen, now what? It's times like that, Mark, when it's absolutely seen, mind goes quiet. Just goes quiet. And when I say, now what? All you got left is just this. And and this is not referring to a thing or a place or a location or an object, not even a subject. You could only come up with the idea of subject if there was also the idea of object going on. So we can't even say subject. That's why, just this.
Yeah. Wow.
And this just is, this one referring to is non-conceptual. What does that mean? Non-conceptual. What would that mean, Mark?
Well, not tied up with mind.
Absence of. Actually, it's more absence of the mind creating a pseudo self and a pseudo other, subject object. There'll still be thoughts. They're just absolutely no longer understood or perceived or believed to be a personal thought. Just thoughts happen. Just like seeing happens. Hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. Just happens, doesn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. Please ponder this. Yeah. Like this is important. It's really important. And it all started with the comment that came out of you. Yeah. Just this sounds like, doesn't seem to be very accurate to say just this. You're right. You're actually right. Correct. The whole conversation started from that statement. Mark. What gives rise to consciousness in the immediacy of now? What?
Yeah. Just is. I know.
And that's the truth. Anything that you, like if you were able to answer that question, it'd be a concept or a model. Something mind tries to create so that everything kind of seems okay. Oh, that's the cause. Okay. It's fallible, Mark. Like it's limited. Beautiful. Yeah. Jesus, man, like without maths and duality going, we wouldn't have been able to land people on the moon or land objects on Mars or on comets or, man, look. Yeah. It's brilliant. Brilliant. But its biggest fault is it creates a seeming person. When there isn't one. Well, there is the immediacy of now. Yeah, it's really important that you see this. No cause. It must be seen. Yeah. You also must come to fully understand what I'm talking about when I talk about infinite regression.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that was true, none of this would happen. Wouldn't have time to. Because all that would be happening is an absolute would be being created. One after another, another. Nothing would get done. Because the first one that got created, if it was true, right? The first one that got created is dependent on the trillionth one. The quadrillionth one. The zillionth, billionth, zillionth, dillionth, whatever, right? This first one is dependent on that one existing. Because if that one doesn't come into being, this one doesn't. Nothing would ever happen unless there is no cause and there is no beginning. Just now look around, look at everything. If it had a cause, it'd be in a state of infinite regression and nothing would happen. Got to see that, Mark. Use your logic. Use your logic. You've got to really see this. Yeah? This belief that mind has in relation to a cause and effect, the fallacy of that must be seen. It must. Yeah? Like, I bet you couldn't tell me what was the cause of you just sitting there 3 seconds ago doing this.
Yeah.
The fuck was the cause of that? You didn't even know it was happening until I pointed it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
What the fuck was the cause of that? Where do you want to go with that? Just this is just happening. And most of the time, we're not even aware that this is just happening. Blinking is just happening. Thoughts are just happening. The body is just happening. No cause. This is great. Got to see this one, okay?
Yeah.
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 This, you know, I don't mind you using intellect to examine this. Go for it. Knock yourself out. You've got a keen intellect. Use it. Really use it. See what you come up with. Eventually reach a place where you let go. It's just a letting go of, it's just a further letting go of duality, cause and effect. It's absurd. It's a model. It's a belief system. It's a model. Which arises in this seeming world of duality. Shit, a brick. It's not a dualistic world. There isn't one. And analyzing and really looking at this idea of cause and effect. Look at it, Mark. Like the me, the mind, the whole dualistic system, Mark, the whole dualistic system rests on a believed in cause. The whole thing. Of course it would. It's dualistic. Cause effect. Of course it would. Now analyze it. You'll discover it doesn't make sense. There's no beginning and no end. Then it's just now. No. Just this. There's no beginning. No beginning of it. There's no beginning. If you want to look back in time, let's say, for argument's sake, there's no beginning. If there was, you'd be in infinite regression. So that model doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, if there's no beginning, then there's just this. If there's no beginning, there's no end. There's just this. And when does one now finish and another now begin? So it's just this. The immediacy of now. This is where mind starts to shut down, Mark. It just naturally starts to shut down. You've got to have I'm rapt that this has come up. You've got to look at this.
Yeah.
This will blow duality right out of the water. Right out of the water. Can there be duality if there's no beginning and no end? Where do you fit duality into that? No beginning, no end. No cause, no effect. The mind just goes. Where do you find yourself? Right here, just this. No cause, no thing, no location, just this. And this is what we've been looking for, just this. That mind just has to be. Well, it's very important for you to look at this. Yeah. See that cause and effect, Mark, is a belief system. Now analyze it logically. Go there. Really, really go there. Duality, in the end, makes no sense. No sense. It's absurd, duality. It's literally absurd. Like cause and effect is absurd. Beginning and an end is absurd. Time, absurd. You always like having something to do, practice or something. I wouldn't call this a practice. Yeah? I'd call this an inquiry. An inquiry. You've got to inquire into this cause and effect. You must. Is it true? Is it actually true? See what you come up with. And see what sort of shift occurs as a result of what you come up with. It just... That's it. That's your mission now. This has got to be looked at. It's what I mean by say, have a look at what's actually happening. What's actually happening here? Oh, okay, there's a belief in cause and effect. All right, let's look at that. Yeah? Because that seems to be what's actually happening. Cause and effect and a belief in. All right, well, we might need to have a look at that because this teaching is called non-duality, which means there can't be a cause, there can't be effect, there can't be time, there can't be a me, there can't be a you, there can't be this or that or other or here or there. There can't be any of that. Now, cause and effect certainly makes that's two. Maybe we better look at that. Yeah. This is great. How are you at the moment with this?
Yeah, great.
You all right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Fine.
I can't remember the last time I had this conversation with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
To this depth, yeah.
Yeah.
Just really stripping it back and looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
All right, my beautiful friend. I love you.